So were you right? Did anybody guess the car? I had so many arguments all the time growing up in the car with my parents. There was one time my mom was driving, she was at a red light, and I was in the back seat, and we were yelling at each other so much. We were fighting so much that at the red light, I unlocked the door, opened the door, and I said, I'm leaving, I'm walking home. And at that red light on Marguerite, she looks back, gives me that look, and says, John O'David, you get back in the car. And when your mom uses your middle name, that's when you know you're in trouble. So just some food for thought. Hey, here's a pro tip, some free advice, getting a little off track here before we dive back into talking about trust. Because Mother's Day is next month and Father's Day is the month after that, just in case you didn't know that, you should. I want to give you some advice. Something you should get your mom and your dad. They don't want a mug. They don't want a Happy Father's Day mug. You're the best dad, or with the letter of their name on a mug. It's dumb. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm gonna give you some truth. They don't want it. Your mom doesn't want Happy Mother's Day. You're the best mom in the world. You're the best mom in the world sweatshirt. They know it's not true. They know you're lying, not because they doubt themselves as a parent, but because they know you didn't survey the entire world to figure out if they're the best mom or dad in the world. But you know what they want? They want your words. Your mom and your dad want your words. They want to hear how much you appreciate them, how much you love them. I'm not getting cheesy. I'm not trying to be unrealistic, but it can be simple. Writing a letter, telling them what you appreciate about being their daughter, being their son, things you realize they do that goes unnoticed. And I'm not talking about like a card you buy at Target for $5.99. Save your money. I'm saving you so much money. You need to tell your friends to come to church with you because they're going to save money. I'm saving you money as you sit. What your parents want is a letter. They want to hear your words. I challenge you, write them a letter and also get them a mug this Mother's Day and Father's Day and see what they hold on to. See what they still have in their room 10 years from now. Okay, pull out your outlines. We're in our last leg of the race here. How to build trust with your parents. Your next fill-in, your first step. We have 3 steps in how to build trust with your parents. You have to honor and obey your parents. Whether you've been following Jesus your entire life, you're new to faith, or you're not Christian at all and you're just considering this whole faith in Jesus thing, you've probably heard of the Big Ten. And when I talk about Big Ten, I'm talking about the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments God has for us that was written in the Old Testament. And whether you study them or not, whether you read the Bible or not, you benefit from them. A lot of these laws have shaped our culture and the laws that we have in the United States. I'm grateful for them. Don't steal. You shall not murder. I don't know about you, but I'm grateful for that one. But one that often gets overlooked is the 5th commandment. And it says, and it's on your outline, honor your father and your mother. Exodus 20 verses 12. Honor your father and your mother. Like any commandment God gives us, he gives us standards because he loves us. He's not a fun killer. He's not saying, hey, I know your parents are really harsh and they're so mean, and every time they talk to you or yell at you, buckle up. Which is ironic because we're in a car right now. Buckle up and just hold on and say, yes, sir, and no, ma'am, because they're your parents. No, God gives us commands like every command. It's because he loves us. He wants us to live the best life possible, living life to the fullest. And part of that means honoring our mom and dad and having a healthy relationship. And part of that is trust. And to have trust, we have to honor our parents. Ephesians 6, verses 1 through 3. It says, children, obey your parents if the Lord. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on this earth. Honor your parents. What does this even mean? Well, basically, it means respecting them. And you may not agree with all the decisions your parents tell you to do, but the Bible tells us to respect our parents. And the key part in that verse on your outline is where it says, for this is right. Why don't you go ahead and circle that? For this is right. You obey them because of him. If a good parent is like a good driving instructor, they could see the road ahead. They know what is in front of us, and they want to protect us. They want us to honor them and love them and let them guide us. And I recognize that some of you are going home tonight to very different family dynamics, to very different family environments. Some of you guys, just to name a few, have parents who are happily married, maybe married but barely hanging on by a thread, divorced. You might live with a step-parent, abandoned. There might be a parent who's left you before. And maybe you or someone you know close to you has a parent who's passed away. And it's hard, and it's really hard. I know this concept of relationships with our parents can bring up a lot of emotions and a lot of hurt. And here's the thing when it comes to this concept with trust. I'm actually going to break my own rule. Anytime one of us is on stage or through video talking to you about anything, it applies to everyone in the room, whether you've been a Christian your whole life or a new Christian or considering to follow God. It's for you because God's word is perfect, because God is perfect. He doesn't change. But our parents aren't perfect. They're humans, and they're going to let us down. And there are some situations and some relationships with the parents that you really shouldn't trust them, and they've lost your trust. And for sake of time, I won't get into all the specifics, but there are some situations where you shouldn't trust your parents. So maybe for you, if in the room, you shouldn't be looking at this as 3 steps how to trust your parents. Maybe for you, it's how to honor your parents, how to honor them, how to respect your parents. Because no matter who's raising you, no matter if it's biological or not, God's word says we have to honor our parents. We have to honor those raising us. We have to respect them. So maybe for you, you need to write that down instead of trust, to respect or to honor. Our second fill-in, communicate well. To honor, we need to communicate well to build trust. Tell your parents what's going on. Keep them in the loop. Don't blindside them later on. If you put off something that you want to tell them that you know you should, it's just going to be worse later. And speaking of communication, could somebody wake up Randall? I'm assuming at this point he's probably sleeping. So if someone can just nudge him, wake him up. Cool. Thanks. Glad you're here, Randall. Okay, third is that we need, when it comes to our parents, we need to tell the truth, okay? There's nothing more powerful than telling the truth. You don't have to worry about keeping your story straight or lying or making sure someone doesn't leave out one part of the story. If you want to be trusted, you have to be trustworthy, worthy of trust. I want to be marked by somebody who, when they think of Jono, they think of it as someone they could trust. And God has that for you too. Lying is such a huge trust breaker. If you're caught in a lie, or if you're caught lying, it's so difficult to undo that. If you are caught in a big lie, if you're caught in a small lie, it's so easy for someone to mark you as that and have that stigma of you are a liar, or you're known as somebody that can lie. It's really hard to undo that. It's not possible, but it takes time. If you lie to somebody, then try to build trust in the future and try to build more trust, they can think back to that lie and wonder if you're telling the truth now. Have you ever been to a restaurant and had really bad service? Have you had a really bad experience at a restaurant? It's terrible. Maybe it's cold food or terrible service or diarrhea. Whatever it is, it's not fun. And my in-laws, Michaela's parents, their family has this saying, and there's actually this symbol that when a restaurant just had terrible service, they're outlawed. And what this means, if a restaurant is outlawed, that it's a funny way, but really serious. It's a way of saying that we're not eating there, no matter what. We are going to starve before we go to that place to eat ever again. They're cut, outlawed, because they lost their trust. Because they did something, whether as they're getting seated or on their way out, somewhere in there, they lost their trust. So they're not going to trust them, and they're going to move on. So what adult in your life do you need to build trust with? Who is someone in your life that's an adult, that's a parent or a parent figure in your life that you need to build trust, that you need to put one of these markers in place? Because here's what I desire for you. I want you to love your parents. I want your parents to love you. I want you to thrive in these last couple of years of living under their roof. I don't want you just to grit your teeth and go through the motions and power through. I want you to really enjoy building this relationship with your parents. I want you to thrive. Trust is the foundation that will keep us of avoiding the parent trap. To avoid this parent trap, we have to put trust as our foundation. Here's your final thought. You are trust building or trust breaking with everything you do. Trust building or trust breaking. Work hard this week to build a relationship of trust with your parents. We'll see you and your parents next week. We love you. Have a great week.